Hi everyone. Wow, I see a lot of people have already joined us. Warm welcome to everyone to our first ever LinkedIn live session. I'm here to talk about a very interesting topic which is very close to us, which is about how can we use analytics and AI to deliver a next best experience to our customer. I'm Sachin Garg. I head the TAP COE for Teleperformance. With me today, we got Sapna from Microsoft. She heads AI and analytics at Microsoft. Hi, Sapna. How are you doing?
Very good, Sachin. How are you?
Very good, Sapna. Just recovered from COVID, feeling really well.
Very happy to hear you recovered and hope the families were as well.
Absolutely. First of all, thank you very much for joining us today. Sapna, why don't you tell us about yourself, about your role at Microsoft?
Will do, Sachin. And again, very happy to see such a large audience. And hopefully, you'll find this very real discussion useful to you. My role at Microsoft is honestly very exciting. I lead the solution sales team. And the reason it's exciting is I get to see customers use analytics, use AI as the tools to harness the most from their data, see insights, and really bring their use cases to life and transform businesses. So that's my role for Microsoft India.
Wow,
Back to you,
wow, that's
Sachin.
great. That's great. So, how are you finding in terms of, when you talk about, heading sales, what do you find is the key challenge which people currently kind of faces, and how do you look at modernizing some of those infrastructure and, the IT?
Yes, so the challenges are definitely there. We can talk a lot about technology and the impact technology can have, but we really have to make technology work keeping in mind the challenges. Some of the challenges are the silos both from a data perspective, a technology perspective, and a people perspective. There is also the fact that many customers, especially if you take the BFSI space or the manufacturing space, have to deal with a lot of legacy, which possibly the born in the cloud companies don't have to deal with. So that's, I think, the first challenge. Second is mapping these challenges and overcoming these challenges to map to customer expectations. But do we have success stories? Absolutely. And what customers are looking for today specifically in the area of making use of analyzing the large data is about understanding their customer. And one term that has come now is the customer data platform. The customer data platform allows you to collect data from your existing applications, which is your system of record, but also collect data from external sources, which literally could be from websites which you are partnering with. It
Yeah,
could be from social media or any other sources. And it allows you to create that single view of the customer. So that's number one. Second is taking this data and actually translating it to benefit the customer experience. And I think
yeah.
that's the key in what is happening and what is transforming. Because customer data platform along with customer experience is what makes the difference.
No,
Now,
absolutely.
how can Microsoft help in this journey? Azure Synapse allows you to create a single source of truth with industry data models to care, building a single customer view. Having this ability to ingest data from external sources real time and from system of records, which are your internal applications. This can be done real time. We can also use cognitive services, for example, form recognizer, to extract data from documents and hence really enabling the faster experience for the user. I'll give you a couple of examples from the real world, right? We have Aditya Birla Insurance, who actually uses our cognitive services to translate speech to text in their call centers. And what allows them, this really allows them to analyze the sentiment of the customer, react to the customer needs faster, and this really helped them and mainly the customer during COVID times. So that's perhaps an example, Sachin, that our audience could relate to on how analytics and AI is helping.
Now that's extremely relevant, and I think one of the key points which you mentioned is to how can we use this data to build one single view, and I think that's extremely critical for us to be able to maintain and manage customer experience. Sapna, I have another question for you. If we just talk about, let's say, e-retail, as an industry, where do you think, how analytics and AI applications are really helping? And from this industry perspective, how can they just, how can, the Microsoft technologies can really help us enhance the entire customer experience?
Absolutely. And I think e-retail is a very interesting industry. What happened during COVID, while there was a lot of adoption of technology, the traditional brick and mortar retail companies had to overnight change because their brothers and sisters who were already doing online retail, their sales were soaring because there wasn't much choice for customers who wanted
Yeah.
to buy. In addition to that, existing customers who, I mean, existing vendors who already had or whose large business was on e-retail, they really had to compete with these new vendors who were using enhanced techniques to understand their customer. So e-retail is a very interesting space. Now, what are these customers, these e-retail customers of Microsoft really trying to solve? They're really trying to solve the making the buying process simpler. So it's ultimately the customer experience. If you revolve around the customer, your sales will grow. This has been proven multiple times with a lot of our customers. So one of the things they did was simplifying the buying process that really helped enhance customer experience. They introduced intelligent supply chains. They made the support more efficient by relating all the data that they could get from the various omni channels that customers were coming to them and feeding it into that single source of truth, the customer data platform. Giving you an example is AB and Bev, which has really gained significant insights about their operations, their customer base by having a single data platform. Another use of AI that we have seen again in this space is about understanding and processing various invoices. So, when invoices need to be processed, when you deal with your vendors, with your partners, how do you make that process faster, push the supply chain to be faster, and hence ultimately affect the customer experience to be more positive? Now, keep
Yeah.
all this in mind. There is no compromise on security. When you're dealing with your end customers, you're dealing with very sensitive PII data. So, enabling things like masking, enabling encryption when data is at rest, data in transit, or data in compute, all constitute part of the solution that Microsoft has to offer. Back to you, Sachin.
No, no, that's really great, and I think this is well said in terms of how AI could be a real leverage, and you need power of computing, and I think that's extremely useful from what you said, Sapna.
Absolutely. Now, Sachin, it's my turn to ask you a few questions because you're the practitioner here. We are Microsoft, we are the OEM. So you really bring all this to life for us. So, can we first focus on how different BUs at Teleperformance leverage Azure Synapse as an internal data warehouse and what type of analytics you're actually deriving today?
Sure, sure. So I think, Sapna, one of the key thing which you would appreciate what has happened over last few years is this entire cloud infra and the scalability and the ability the cloud gives in terms of faster insights, better computing, and that's what we have done at Teleperformance over last few years. We have kind of adopted a cloud first approach when whatever applications, whatever solutions we are building for our customers are with the approach of cloud first. Now if you look at our industry, this is one industry where if you go back to the typical definition of big data, which talked about variety, velocity, volume, all of that is what we get day in and day out. There are millions of transactions which we manage, and most of this data comes in unstructured format. Now, and that's what you would appreciate in terms of is the most difficult to generate insight and be able to put it correct so that we are able to use it to do certain recommendation. So that's what we do. I think Microsoft Synapse kind of a technology really helps us capture this data, ingest this data, compute this data, And I think one phrase which I really liked about Microsoft Synopsys is it gives us the ability to do limitless analytics. There's a lot which we need to do when it comes to next best experience, as we call it, is all about how can I use the past data to predict what customers need would be in future. And that is where, we have been able to build certain analytics solutions that are able to, give us that predictability that gives, ability for our frontline advisors to kind of interpret, kind of predict what kind of query customers would have, what kind of need they would have, and then be able to respond to that. So that's how we effectively using it, and it's been a great journey so far.
That's great to know, Sachin. I think a couple of things, right? First, you said that the cloud first approach that you've taken. I
Yeah,
think once you bring that trust that cloud is the way to go, you have established that model, and you're really taking full advantage of it. Limitless analytics with security and the ability for you to empower your first line workers to take that data and have better conversations with your customers clearly has shown benefits.
that's
So,
absolutely.
great journey on that, Sachin. Thanks for that. The next question I had for you is how do you predict customer needs and behaviors to send them the right channel? Because I'm sure customers are reaching out to you from various channels, and you want to ensure good customer experience. So
Yeah,
how does that work?
sure, sure. Actually, I would, first talk about what do we mean by next best experience and why it is so important. Just imagine you go to a coffee shop, and the time you enter, the guy at the till recognizes you, greets you with your name, and actually offers your favorite coffee. You as a customer would get a direct connect with the brand, and that's what it's all about in terms of the next best experience. There are lines between, industries are kind of thinning in terms of, if I'm using a bank or if I'm using a e-retail, I as a customer expect similar kind of an experience where, I'm able to smoothly get what I need, and I'm able to, use their service. Therefore, it's important for us to use this data to be able to predict what would be the customer's need. Now, and therefore, one of the most important aspect for data today is not just analytics, but to use data as memory. There are interactions customers do today with us. Now, what do I do with that interaction or all of that data? It's important for us to take that data, use that data for future contacts to look at, what would be the future need of the customer. If customers are facing issues today with certain, let's say billing or something else, what could be the potential issue they may face in future, and how could we basically resolve them before they even coming to us. And this is all about using that data, using customers behavior, and be able to, predict that. At TP we got, several such initiatives. We got things like what we call as TP Interact, where we actually do a lot of insight analysis on this unstructured data on customers conversations, and be able to really determine what are customers behavior, what would be their potential need, and then apply those analytics engines so that, our frontline advisors are more and more equipped. So it's extremely important, and it has really helped us improve and deliver, many great experiences to our end customers.
That's a great analogy, Sachin, and I think the audience would agree, right? Data is memory. What we're really allowing is this engine to become more efficient, become more human, if you will. And
Yeah.
your frontline advisors now have the power to do that thanks to the single source of truth that you've created, the capacity to process unstructured data and provide that intelligence to your frontline advisors. So, great
Yeah.
example, Sachin. At this point, I want to thank the audience for being with us today. It was a very insightful session. Hopefully, you guys will appreciate the insights you got, the use cases that were discussed. With that, thanking you from my side, Swapna checking out. Sachin, back to you.
No, thank you, Sapna. Thank you for your time. I think the session was extremely useful, and I'm sure most of our audience would agree to that. Thank you all for joining our sessions today. Thank you.